How do you create sales battle cards that actually help your reps win deals? While many organizations have sales enablement or competitive intelligence teams, I've been in sales and sales management for 15 years, and time again, I've seen that while those teams often have the best intention, it doesn't land for the sales reps in the field. If you've been in sales or sales management as long as I have, you've seen situations where a rep freezes during a pitch or call because a prospect has mentioned something about a competitor and the rep just isn't 100% sure. They can't remember if the content they read in the battle card was accurate, up to date, or even if it can be trusted. This isn't a rep problem, it's a sales enablement, it's a battle card problem. The real question is, how do you actually make sure you create battle cards that get used and remain relevant? So why are battle cards failing in these real selling moments? The problem is that sales enablement and competitive intelligence teams traditionally have viewed battle cards as a project, something that is done once and then forgotten about. Hands up if you've gone to your company's wiki, a Google Drive folder, or wherever it's stored and seen a battle card that's 6, 9, 12 months out of date. In today's day and age, it's just not appropriate for sales teams to have to rely on information that's only updated once every 6 months, or worse, once in at all. So often people think there's no cost to this and that, hey, we do have a battle card and can't reps just figure it out themselves? But that's just taking the shortcut or the short answer. If you think about it, the cost isn't just that your content is out of date. It's that your sales cycles take longer, that your reps miss important objections they could handle better, and that you're not laying competitive landmines for your competitors in deals. So why are most battle cards dead on arrival? First of all, I think the biggest issue is the enablement disconnect. If your sales enablement or competitive intelligence team is populated by people who've never sold a day in their lives or haven't done so in years, they're kind of missing out on how modern sales teams work. They've lost the connection between what salespeople need today. This isn't 2010 or even 2015. It's 2026 today, and software companies are much more competitive. It's more a saturated market, and also the iteration and the cycles in which competitive offerings are improving, iterating, being marketed, etc. is accelerating, especially in today's age with AI. In addition to that, you have the timing trap where new competitors are emerging all the time. Not only direct competitors, but also adjacent competitors who add new functionality. And while it might not do everything that your solution does, if their new feature or new module can do 80% of what yours can, it's still a competitor. Equally, as I've spoken about with AI, there are new competitors emerging all the time. So those cycles in which new competitors can come up and also existing competitors can add differentiation is just accelerating. Finally, the static document problem. Again, everything else we treat in business is often seen as, we need live content. We need live data for our marketing teams. We need live sales data in our CRM. Why then do we treat competitive intelligence and battle cards any different? Why are we creating a PDF, a Google slide once every 6 or 12 months? It's just not appropriate in today's selling environment. Let's break this down a little more. If your people who are creating the battle cards aren't the ones actually using them, what you get is these theoretical documents. And the worst case of this is where you get a 10-page, a 20-page PDF that is just walls and walls of content that sales reps are never going to read. I can say this because I have been a sales rep. A lot of sales reps are seen as lazy. And it's not that they're lazy in the traditional sense, it's just that they're time poor. They don't have the time to read a 101-page document. Equally, a lot of that information isn't actually relevant for the situation that they find themselves in. One example that I've seen of this, and this I still find crazy to this day, a company we were working with came to us because their existing battle cards weren't working. When we looked at their current content, they had tweets from the CEO of their competitor, but these weren't relevant tweets. It was the CEO talking about his recent ski trip to Aspen. Now, as a salesperson, if I access that battle card, even though in one way it was good, there was some up-to-date content there, and I just see a wall of tweets about skiing in Aspen, I'm not going to come back. I'm not going to spend time reading that because I know it's not relevant for me. So the fix here is that battle cards must be built with a frontline reality. You need to get direct inputs from your best sales performers, but also create the battle card and the framework for your battle card with the seller in mind. Not what someone in sales enablement, not what someone in product management, not what someone in marketing thinks a salesperson needs, but rather what they actually need. The second big issue, timing traps. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this. Traditional cycles for creating and updating enablement content are just too long. Your sales reps might share in Slack, hey, we're currently seeing a new competitor pop up in a lot of deals. That's fantastic. You're getting real world feedback that you should use to arm your reps with better content and adjust your strategy. The problem is that enablement go and spend 2, 3, 4 weeks. Sometimes it's not even weeks. Sometimes it's 2, 3, 4 months doing this research. They put it on the back burner. I've got to go and research their website. I've got to look into some reviews. I've got to understand their products. Then they spend another 3 or 4 weeks putting together a battle card. And then when they've done it, they create it as a static PDF. So it's out of date in another 3 or 4 weeks anyway. But if you look at the entirety of that sales cycle, even at the very short end, you're looking at 1.5, 2 months. But more often than not, 3, 4, 5 months before you even get a battle card for a new competitor that your sales reps are seeing in deals today. They can't wait weeks or months. They need insight they can use in the very next call that could be happening as soon as tomorrow. This leads to the third big problem. Static documents die fast. It's great that you can create a PDF, but if you've worked in sales, you've logged into your content repository, your wiki, wherever it is that you've stored this information, and you've seen competitor A battle card, and then underneath that you'll see competitor A battle card V2 or competitor A battle card final update. So which one is the sales rep meant to trust? The even worse example of this is when you see in Slack or Microsoft Teams, a sales rep asks, hey, I'm after some competitive intel on this competitor, and you get 3 people answering with 3 different things. Sometimes even more than that. One person points to a PDF, someone then says, no, I created this document. Someone then provides a written response based on what they heard yesterday in a deal. So how is a sales rep meant to understand what is the source of truth? And if you have this information stored in 3 different places, how are you ensuring that the reps are getting the most up-to-date, the most relevant, and the most battle-tested information in their hands? So if we now flip the script and start to look at what are the traits of battle cards that actually help you win deals, it's obviously pretty much the inverse of what we've just been talking about. First of all, it's that real-time intelligence. And I would really say that the best source of real-time intelligence is actually your sales reps. Yes, we want to be monitoring competitor news, competitor updates, but if a sales rep is in a call talking to a prospect and that prospect mentions that they heard a pitch from a competitor and that competitor didn't really nail a certain outcome, or that their pricing was hard to understand, or that implementation timeframes seemed a lot longer, that is a lot more valuable than any information that you're going to be able to glean from a competitor website, because they're always going to be positioning the best case scenario. Secondly, you need the ability to instantly create battle cards. You want a centralized platform where sales reps can go and they can always see the most up-to-date battle cards, but equally see any new battle cards that have been created. You don't want to have to educate sales reps every single time there's a new battle card. You want them to have a central place where they go and see this. Tools like Playwise HQ take this a step further with AI-powered battle card generation, so that if you do have that new competitor who's popped up, you can very quickly and easily get a battle card created in minutes. From there, you can obviously refine it with your own insight and expertise and start bringing in that sales intel. At the very least, you've got something that salespeople can use tomorrow and not in 6 months' time. Third, be very specific with talk tracks, objection handling, win-loss themes, etc. You don't want to provide just this kind of fluffy information that is more marketing speak and isn't giving salespeople actual strategies, insights, positioning points they can use, etc. So again, that kind of comes back to that real world intelligence that you get from your sales reps. If you know that a competitor, for example, implementation timeframes are 12 or 18 months, and that's significantly longer than yours, and you're hearing that from prospects in the field, you should be arming your sales reps with that insight, giving them some talk tracks around it, giving them some questions that they can ask prospects so that you're dropping those landmines for that competitor. And then workflow accessibility, so being able to integrate with CRM, being mobile friendly, being easily accessible in a central location. One of the core things that exists in Playwise HQ is integrations with CRMs such as HubSpot and Pipedrive, where you can create win-loss intelligence in either Playwise HQ itself or directly from your CRM, and then have that sync back. So now as a sales rep, if I go to a particular competitor battle card, I can see exactly why we win or lose against a given competitor. Very important and beneficial if you're in sales. So let's talk about what the great battle cards actually contain. Strategic competitor analysis, documenting their strengths, their weaknesses, but don't just think of this as a list of dot points. It needs to think through the lens of what is going to matter for the prospect that I'm talking to. Things that are value focused, ROI driven, not, hey, this competitor's got, the largest market cap of all listed software companies. Irrelevant. Make it very specific talk tracks that are based on fact, not marketing speak, not fiction. Better yet, if you can actually reference customer stories of your own or situations that you've seen. So for example, using that implementation time frame, you might have a talk track or a specific point that says, against company A, we hear that their implementation timeframes are typically 12 to 18 months. With our solution, we typically implement in 6 months, and we have XYZ examples, XYZ case studies that talk directly to that. The objection handling arsenal, so making sure that these are battle tested, they're real objections that are coming up. So again, don't rely just on sales enablement, product management, marketing teams. Ask your reps, what do you hear? What objections do you hear in the market when you have a prospect who says that they're comparing our solution against competitor A or competitor B? Proof points, ROI, case studies, customer stories, etc. It has to be relevant, because the best way of selling is to tell a story. So it's one thing to say that your implementation timeframes are shorter, but if you can say, with company A, B, and C in the same industry as you, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, we were able to achieve an implementation timeframe of 6 months, which compared to our competitors like competitor A is actually 2 to 3 times quicker. Would implementing a solution like this 2 to 3 times quicker be beneficial to your business? Obviously, the answer to that is yes. Okay, so once you've got your battle card framework, you understand what makes a great battle card. How do you make sure that battle cards actually stick? Well, especially if you're in a larger team, 50, 100, 200, even 1,000 plus sales reps, you can't roll it out to everyone day one, right? You want to find the champions, sales reps who are leading within their teams, get them on board, get them using the battle cards. Obviously, in an ideal world as well, as we've talked about, you've involved them in the kind of decision-making process, the content creation process anyway, but you seed it with them so that other people in the team can see that they're the ones getting value, they're benefiting, and then you have a champion in each sub-team or sub-department. You have to make the whole process easier than guessing. If a sales rep's like, hey, I'm going to go into a meeting in half an hour, and it's easier for me just to rely on my own instinct or have a 5-second look at a company website, you're not doing enough. You need to make sure that the battle card adds value and is easy to access so that sales reps go, hey, it's easy for me just to quickly look at that, refresh my memory. I might as well look at some objections that typically come up, so I'm armed with that, right? Make it easy. Train for natural delivery, your objection handling strategies, win-loss themes, all those talk track type things. You want it to feel conversational and natural. Don't make it overly fluffy, overly marketing speak, as we've spoken about, and build in those feedback loops, whether that's having a mechanism for sales reps to contribute insight, which is a core functionality of Playwise HQ. Sales reps can actually directly input into battle cards things that they're hearing in the field, and then battle card editors and admins can approve those comments. But also every 3 months, get a handful of the sales reps together. Ask them how often they're using the battle cards, what they're finding valuable, what needs to be improved, how they can be better for them. Because at the end of the day, sales enablement are meant to enable sales teams. And if they're not getting that feedback and iterating and improving on the processes, then they're not unlocking all of the value that they could. So what do you do next? Well, there's always another deal around the corner, right? Competition never stops and your sales reps rarely sleep. If you're just starting and you don't really know, there's so many competitors, there's so much to do, I'm not really sure where to start, just pick one competitor. Create one battle card and test it within the week. If you've never done this process before, it can be a little overwhelming. And if you've got 20, 30 competitors, especially if you consider a tier 2, tier 3, it can seem like there's too much to boil in one go. Nail that first approach, and from that first approach, speak with the reps, get that feedback in that first week and go, okay, here's how I can optimize the content we're creating. And now in week 2, let's expand that to our top 3 to 5 competitors. With a platform like Playwise HQ, it's very easy to do that. To be honest, in week 1, you could create 3 or 4 from the get-go. But it's that iterative process of, let's not boil the ocean. Let's get a solid foundation. Let's get our sales team on board with this as a process. Let's make sure it's providing value. Once we've got that framework in place, let's scale to cover all of our primary and secondary competitors and any related ones. Beyond that, having a system that ensures that the content remains up to date, that your sales enablement and competitive intelligence team manage and run through, so that they're thinking strategically about, hey, has this competitor done anything that shifted their strategy? Do we need to rethink how we view our strengths or weaknesses, etc.? The worst thing to do is consider a battle card as a project. It's a process. It's continually evolving. It's something that needs regular gardening and upkeep. So thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to learn more about Playwise HQ and how it can help you create competitive battle cards in just minutes and really accelerate your sales strategies, check out playwisehq.com, where you can book a free demo, or alternatively create a free tier yourself and start testing out the functionality to see how it would add value to your business.